Hey everyone. Zach, I'm trying to add you to the group to the chat. There he is.
There we go.
What's going
How
on,
you
guys?
doing, Zach?
Pretty good. How you guys doing?
Not too bad. I'm gonna let Brian field most of the questions tonight. Feel like I swallowed razor blades, so talking's not my strong suit right now.
Okay, sounds good.
How's it going, Zach?
Pretty good, Brian. What's up?
Not much. So, you're going to be down in Prairie Village coming up soon, huh?
Yeah, so that was kind of a thing that came out of nowhere. KCBS sent out a survey about calling pitmasters to come and cook at the Ace Hardware in like 5 different locations across the metro, and we put our name into the hat, hoping maybe we'd get picked. And lo and behold, we got selected. I got that email on Friday. So, yeah, we'll be cooking Prairie Village on Saturday, August 27th from, I think, 11 to 2. I think that's the schedule.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we'll be cooking up pulled pork for everybody. There'll be free samples. We'll be showcasing products they're selling at that particular Ace location. Yeah, should be a really good time. So, like I said, if you guys are in the area, come and watch my wife and I do a cooking demo of pulled pork.
I mean, I just want to come by just for the free sandwich.
Well, yeah, you absolutely should. Yeah, so we should have, I think, enough for like 200 samples. I think that's the way it's worked out. So, be cooking up the best pork on the planet. That is Prairie Fresh pork, and we'll be cooking that for everybody. So, yeah, if you guys are in Prairie Village around the area, we'd love to cook for you guys, and happy to see you guys come out and watch us do our demo.
Awesome. Hopefully you get some down there. I know I want to try to make it down. What's the date on that?
It'd be Saturday, August 27th.
Perfect. All right, well, let's get started here.
Yeah.
Besides that being the first question, that's kind of a congratulations too on it, because it's always exciting to do those. First one would be, what got you started in competition barbecue?
Wow. So I started getting into competition barbecue, not actually cooking contests, but just learning how to cook competition style. I think I started cooking competition style back in like 2012. I was in grad school down at Oklahoma State, had a lot of time on my hands, a good way to wind down from grad classes, which are incredibly stressful. And I was started, like a lot of people, got hooked on comp barbecue watching Barbecue Pitmasters. And I mean, it was just an instantaneous hook. And went and got a really cheap $35 bullet smoker, an old Brinkman that I kind of modified to make it a little bit easier for fire management and stuff like that. Leaked like crazy, but it was a really good way to learn fire control, temp control, and just kind of cook it. I would cook competition recipes on that thing. You can't fit a whole lot on those bullet smokers, especially these Brinkmans. I don't even know if they're around anymore. And just kind of, and then barbecue kind of went by the wayside. And then fast forward to 2020, on COVID, wife and I were at home, and we said, why don't we think about doing competition barbecue? Had never competed before, neither one of us. She didn't really even know a whole lot about barbecue until, her and I got together. But went and got some cookers and just started kind of practicing. And Our first competition was in August of 2020. We did the Holy Smoke non-sanctioned competition in Liberty, Missouri. That was our very first contest that we ever cooked.
Nice. Well, that leads us straight into number 2. You said you had the Brinkman bullet, which a lot of people probably had those. I had one. I still got a Brinkman side-by-side in my old trailer.
Oh, yeah?
It's rusted. Don't know what to do with it. It's storage. But I know what you have now. One of them that I saw. But what kind of cookers have you had, and what do you run now today?
So, at competition, we run 4 drums. I have 2 true gateways, and then I have 2, I guess you're gonna call them UDSs, that I bought from. They look and cook just like a gateway, but they're not gateways. I bought them from Joe Hewer from Happy Grillmore, and so we run 4 cans at competition, 1 for each meet. If we're doing a master series, we'll run 4. If we're just doing a backyard, we'll do the 2. But if at home, like if I'm just cooking for the family, like tonight, I smoked lamb burgers for everybody. I use a Grilla. I have a Grilla Silverback Alpha pellet cooker. I have a Green Mountain Grills. They've changed the names with GMG. It's the one I have is the Daniel Boone. It's the Davy Crockett, excuse me. It's a really small portable one. And I used to have an old offset that we picked up in our neighborhood. Someone was just throwing it away, and my wife and I took it, kind of refurbed it a little bit. We did cook with it at competition. Our very first one, we rolled it out there. Real pain to do that. Don't suggest doing that. But now either I'm cooking on a drum or I'm cooking on my Grilla pellet cooker.
Nice. Yeah, GMG changed their names when they adapted some new smoke thing in their smokers to promote more smoke. Like I don't know if it was a fan or something.
Yeah.
But they push more smoke now, so they changed all the names of them.
I kind of wondered why they changed it up, because they had like the Daniel Boone, the Davy Crockett, the whatevers, and then suddenly I saw that they had changed to like the Trek and a whole bunch of different names. I don't really remember what they changed, that little portable thing. I actually won that. I entered into a competition, or raffle really, at Kansas City Grilling Company, and just somehow, like a bolt from the blue, my name got picked, and I got that smoker for free. So it's kind of a neat. I've used it at competition and I've placed with it, but I don't take it anymore now that I've got 4 cans.
Yeah, it's pretty cool for camping, things like that. Something small to take out.
Yeah, it's nice that it's so portable. I could throw it in the back of the truck. I could, like in the cab. It's so little. It cooks really great. I like to cook on it. I have not cooked on it in a while. You typically, we have the grill up on our top deck, and more often than not, I'm either cooking on one of my gateways or I'm using that Grilla pellet cooker.
Yep. Okay, now here's a big one.
Okay.
We now know you as Breaking Slabs.
Yeah.
What was the team name before, and what made you decide to change it?
So when we first started getting cooking, so from August of 2020 until I guess it was June of this year, we were Show Me Smoke. We were Show Me Smoke Barbecue. The reason why we decided to change it is when Ron Laney RGC'd the Made for KC competition, that huge competition they had for the airport restaurant. We started getting a lot of accidental, like I said, it was all innocent enough, but people mistook us for their team. So they were shouting us out on Instagram and Facebook and all these kind of different things and getting us confused. And I told Katie, I said, look, it's not fair to Ron and his team to keep getting confused with us. And we didn't want to take away from that huge victory that they had. So we said, we have to make a change. And we had been at different competitions with Ron, and people would get us mixed up, and some organizers like to get cute and kind of like tease us when they were during calls for awards. Anyways, I won't go into it, but there was one incident at a competition that I was so mad that the guy was doing it that I had to confront him after. It just wasn't fair to either one of us to kind of play with us like that. But a lot of confusion, and so we made a break towards Breaking Slabs. And so my wife and I are huge fans of the Breaking Bad TV show, and we thought it was just a really cool, unique name. Nobody else out there even has something remotely close to it, so no confusion. And then we got our logo just designed for us, and we're really, really stoked on how that turned out.
The logo is pretty cool.
Yeah. So a friend of my wife's is a graphic designer for St. Luke's Hospital in St. Louis, and he said, I really like this idea, and he actually did it for us for free. So that was just a really cool thing that he did for us, and so, like I said, no, we're really thrilled with how our new look is going, and so we're starting to kind of rebrand with Breaking Slabs.
Yep. Okay, that's awesome. Now here's one. Back to your first comp. Holy smokes!
Mm-hmm.
How did it go for you?
It was really up and down. So didn't have a clue what we were doing. I mean, when I look back at it, it's almost comical, like how unprepared we were, how we overpacked. We had no idea that you could trim before. So we showed up. We had to rent a U-Haul truck because we brought so much stuff. All right. We brought 3 different cookers, which all cooked differently. We brought our Grilla pellet. We brought our old offset, and we brought, at that one time, we had 1 gateway. All right. So each cooker is going to cook totally different, right? But we didn't really think about that. All right. So we cooked ribs on the drum. We did brisket on the pellet, and we did chicken in the offset. All right. Bad. For any of you guys thinking about doing competitions, really, you should try to limit how many cookers you use and try to really learn to cook with one thing, because it's really confusing to try to use 3 at one time. We didn't trim any of the pork butts. All right. I threw them on there like straight out of the cryovac. Okay. Not a good idea. The brisket, I had a beautiful Snake River Farms Gold, and I didn't trim it. I threw the whole packer on that pellet cooker. All right. And I put it on the night before. Like I said, looking back on that, how I cook now to how I cooked my very first one, it's night and day. But we hit all of our turn-ins, and we actually managed to get a 4th overall brisket call in our very first competition. So that was a really cool thing. Honestly, we wanted to hit our turn-ins. That was our one goal we had for our first competition. We didn't think, you go into every competition wanting to win, right? But it's unrealistic, especially for your first one. I think you're just going to walk out there and win it all. But we got a 4th overall brisket, and we were hooked at that point. We thought, wow, first comp, and we get a call. And then we began to really buckle down. We didn't cook the rest of that year, and we started to really focus on how to cook the most efficient and right way for competition barbecue. So it was up and down. My pellet cooker crapped out on me in the middle of the night. The fan stopped working. We had to fix it. It was just kind of a mess. But in the end, it worked out, and it got us really on the right path for comp barbecue.
Awesome. Now, with that being said, how do you prepare now for competitions? Not just you-wise, but judge-wise also, knowing judges could be, the spicy side, they could be a sweet side, they could be a little bit of both. What do you have a tip-wise or anything for anybody on how to prepare for competitions?
So it really comes down to preparation, coming up with a timeline, knowing how your cookers run, practicing. Figure out your flavor profiles on how you want to run them at competition. Practice on them. Don't throw any variables in your cooks. And it's really imperative that you do those practices, because not only can you figure out your flavors, but you get your timeline. So my chicken should cook from A to Z this way. My ribs should go A to Z this way. And so by the time we get to competition, we are really almost mechanical when we put on the big meats. It's like I said, we're at a Masters. We'll do the big meats, and then we'll do our smaller meats, our chicken and our ribs later. But really preparation. So we have my wife is great about organization, so she has all of these lists down to the minute on. We light the drums at this time. We put the chicken on at this time. We spin the, we turn the grates if we're doing ribs at this time. All these little different things. So really, if anyone's wanting to get into competition barbecue, you've got to think of how prepared and organized you need to be, and practice, because it will make or break you day of. So now, week of a competition, we have our meat already bought. We will trim usually Monday or Tuesday. We will have made our injections, our finishing dust, and have all that measured out, ready to go, so that when we get to the competition, I just cut open that back seal and I dump it into my cup and mix up my injection. Or I have my finishing dust ready to go, so that I have it prepared when I get to that part of my cook, like right before I box, I'll put on that finishing dust. We're doing that days ahead of time. We're trimming, we're vac sealing, we're getting all that stuff made. It's going into the cooler, going to the fridge, and then day of, it goes into the coolers. We get to the competition, and we get really regimented on how we set up our cook site, so that when the rubber meets the road, day of for the cook, then we're ready to rock and roll.
Nice. So in competitions now, knowing you do the Master Series of 4 meets, what got you into SCA, state competition?
So SCA it was just kind of a different thing that we wanted to cook. It's a little bit cheaper than doing barbecue. You pay your entry, and then the meat is provided. So SCA stands for State Cook-Off Association. And so how we got into steaks really is just KCBS had in 2021, they had that was the first steak cook-off and backyard competition down at the old site of the American Royal in the West Bottoms in Kansas City. And so my wife and I thought it'd be kind of a fun thing to do. We wanted to kind of get into steak cooking, but we had never done one before. We thought this would be a really good way to do it at the Royal. And so went down there in 21. They had us cooking KC strips, whereas SCA was ribeyes. So we had always been practicing ribeyes. And then they threw the curveball at us, and it was suddenly KC strips, which is, they just cook totally different flavor profile on that meat. But we ended up being, our very first state competition, we were reserve grand champion. So that was 21. And then we just kind of got into SCA, which is, if anybody's familiar or unfamiliar rather with SCA, totally different system, totally different judging criteria. We like it. We just didn't do very well in SCAs. We've cooked 3 SCAs. And then when KCBS announced that they were having the National Steak Championship Series in steak, then we jumped headlong into that because we had done so well at the Royal the year before. So this year we re-entered into the Royal in steak, reserve grand champion again. Then we went up to Altoona, Iowa for the first NSC competition. We were 3rd overall in Iowa. And then we were in Osage City, Kansas at Smoke in the Spring, and we were 5th overall in the NSC competition there. And we haven't done one actually since then.
What was your feeling like on your first RGC in the steak?
I felt like we had a really good cook. I thought that we really had definitely nailed the presentation. We had done a practice run that day. That one I actually did with 2 of my friends. They came over. One came from Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and the other came over from St. Louis, and they were helping me out at that one. Katie came later in the day with our son, and she did our presentation box. I felt really good. I had practiced a whole lot. And so then when, day of came, I felt really good. Now, did I think I was going to be reserve grand? No. But did I think I was going to get a call? Yeah, I felt that good. When you have a really good cook and everything goes to plan, you do get a really good feeling when you're walking to awards, like you might get a call. And so I felt that good going into awards at the Royal. And sure enough, RGC. So an amazing feeling, a lot of really good steak cooks out there that day. And we were lucky to get reserve grand.
That's awesome. Hey, congrats on all of those too.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Now, before we jump into a big one here, one more question for you on competitions.
Okay.
What's been your biggest failure, and how did you overcome it?
Wow. Okay. So I've got two different scenarios for you, two different stories, two different events that happened to us. One was completely unavoidable, and the other I would say is 100% on my shoulders. So we did our very first sanctioned barbecue competition was the 2021 Smoke in the Spring, and we did the Masters Series. Okay, so we had done the non-sanctioned, right? That was our first. So our second competition ever, we dove headlong into. There was 104 or 105 teams at Osage City, Kansas, in 21 at Smoke in the Spring. Okay, we were in two 10 by 10 pop-up tents because we don't have a trailer or a camp or anything like that yet. And we were in the tent. This is about, I think it was at night. It was like 7:30 or 8 o'clock. It was after Cook's meeting. We're prepping. I'm injecting. Katie is over on the table working through our timeline. I opened up the tent because there were fireworks outside. Just stepped outside to kind of watch the fireworks really quick. And there was almost, I don't know if you want to call it like a microburst storm or a really, really hardcore storm that swept over the Cook site, the entire competition. The wind came into our tent, and it lifted one of our tents straight up in the air. And I was almost like Mary Poppins holding on to a leg of my tent as it was like, and I mean, it was like way up in the air, right? Freaked us out. We ended up losing both of our pop-up tents that night. All right. We had one that we kind of salvaged for the next day, but I mean, it was jarring. We were upset. Here we are, first big competition pro, and we thought, man, we're already out of it before the Cook even begins. Slept in the truck that night, shivering cold, and talked about going home. Like, just maybe it wasn't meant to be. Everything's against us. But to my credit, man, my wife said, look, we're here. We need to get up and start cooking at 4 a.m. and make the best of it. Let's make a goal of get our turn-ins. All right. You know, we're cooking out in open air now. We don't, cause I mean, it was just a mess. I said, okay, got up, cooked. We hit all of our turn-ins. We did terrible in the competition. I think we were like 96 out of 104, 105, whatever it was. Really, really bad. But looking back on us, I was proud that we were able to be mentally tough enough to stick it out and to at least finish the competition and to make our turn-ins. Okay, so there's not a failure exactly, but a bad event that happened to us at a Cook that we were able to overcome. The second one, and this is my fault. And this is a lesson learned to people thinking about competing with multiple people on a team. Like, if it's just you and your wife, that's good, because a husband and a wife, they know each other, they know how each other ticks, and you really can typically work really well together. We had a guy that wanted to cook with us at a competition last year, a Masters Series competition. He wanted to cook with us. We said, yeah, come on. Why not? Had never cooked with him before. Knew the guy, but I wouldn't say I know the guy well. He showed up to cook, and we said, look, okay, we're going to put you watching our drums. Okay. We're going to be over here doing other things. All you have to do is sit there and make sure that drum is running 300 degrees straight up and down, and just kind of mess, and check back the temps or increase the flow to make the temp go up. Whatever you need to do, that's going to be your job. Okay. And we just trusted him to do that. In his defense, I don't think he really understood the work and the attention that goes into competition cooking. And he just kind of, for lack of a better term, got lazy. And so now we had the big meets were on. I'm over here looking at my brisket drum, and I look away and I look back, and it's just pouring black smoke. All right. It's just pouring dirty smoke out of it. All right. And I knew at that point, I was like, well, we're screwed on brisket today, because it's going to be so disgusting with that soot taste. And if you've ruined barbecue, you know exactly what I'm talking about. All right. And for competition, it's just a death knell. pouring black smoke, and I look at him, and my wife will tell you I did curse at the guy. I said, "What the are you doing?" And got really up in the air, angry, like, "Why aren't you paying attention?" But looking back now, it was my fault that I didn't micromanage him enough, or just say, "Hey, let me handle this." I got lazy. It was just kind of nice to have somebody else doing that for me for a change, and not me or Katie. So we did not get a brisket call that day. It ruined our really expensive $200 brisket. And so the lesson learned, how I overcame that, adjusted from that, is honestly, unless I really know you, and I have a feeling that I can trust you and I can delegate and you won't take it the wrong way, because my wife can also tell you, in the middle of competition, I will get kind of heated sometimes, and I get kind of demanding because I want it just so. She knows how to handle that. Other people may not. I learned to not do that again. That I need to be the one running the cook and keep my eye on everything, and I trust Katie to do it though, so that I know it runs right. So I would say if there's a failure, that was my, so far I say if I have one failure, that's been a pretty big one.
That's kind of like me. It was 06, 07 era, Great American Barbecue down at the Woodlands Dogs Racetrack in KCK. We had a guy that said he'd run brisket, tried his brisket once, thought it was pretty good. We're down there. The night of the cook, we got the meats on, the big meats. Just like you, microburst comes through. 90% of the field's awnings or easy ups gone. Like, we had 3, they were gone. We were cooking under the heat right on blacktop. It was no fun.
Yeah.
But he put Guinness in with brisket to wrap it. Guess where we finished?
Probably pretty low.
Very low. It was fun. I mean, overall, it was fun. It was interesting. It was a learning lesson. You know,
it's one of, there's a thing, like, the difference between home cooking and competition cooking. The difference is night and day. And so, while you think that might be good at home, and maybe a neighbor thought it was pretty good, or your spouse thought it was pretty good, or whatever, that does not automatically mean that you're going to take that to competition and it's going to be the best thing that these judges have ever tasted. Like, you have to get into the judge's mindset on what they're looking for, and I can probably guess that Guinness and brisket is not one of them.
No, that was a one and done. Choice words were said.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of things.
Sure.
WTF.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get into some big stuff here.
Okay.
What made you and Ryan decide to start up Midwest Backyard Competition Barbecue Facebook page?
All right. So the Facebook group is really taken off. I mean, much more than I think any of us thought it would. I mean, and it's Midwest Backyard Competition Barbecue on Facebook. So if you guys aren't members of that, please join. We have a lot of really good discussions on there. Brian, you're a member. I know you.
Yep.
We have lots of really good discussions on every week on outdoor cooking in general, but backyard competition, the backyard competition. It's a great page. Ryan and Travis Farthing, Fine Ass Swine, started when the steak comp was coming up at the Royal. Ryan added me as an admin to the page, so that's how I got started with it. So yeah, shout out to Ryan and Travis for starting that page. They had the forethought to start the page itself. I came on later in the process, but after I had joined and got into it, one thing I started to notice about backyard was that you would have no problem filling out a comp in the Mid-Atlantic, like say West Virginia, Pennsylvania, anywhere on the East Coast really, or especially the South, particularly the Deep South. You know, they'll have like 60 teams at a backyard. Usually you see that with like the big pro competitions, right? the backyard circuit is huge in the Mid-Atlantic and the South. And they'd have, 60, 65 teams, big purses, awesome trophies. People would come from all over to cook in these backyards. Then you would get into the Midwest and you would see like a competition struggling to fill out to even be a qualifier, or to even just make with 10 people, something like that. I mean, I talk about this a lot because, again, it just blows my mind. There was a competition in Oklahoma early in the year. There were 4 teams that cooked that competition. All right. Not against the guys that cooked that competition, but I was just like, what the heck, guys? Like, why in the Midwest do we not have more people wanting to cook backyard, right? So Ryan and I had been kind of kicking back and forth ideas on why don't we start like a podcast? Like, why don't we start like some kind of movement, for lack of a better term, to get people involved with the backyard scene, the two meat scene in competition. It's a great way to learn competition barbecue. It's just a really worthwhile endeavor, right? So we came up with the idea that we would start the Midwest Backyard Matters podcast. And really what it is, it's a web-based show. We use StreamYard as our software. And so really pretty user-friendly. And we got that show started, and man, it has taken off. It's turned into something that I think Ryan would admit that we never thought it would be what it is just today. Like, it's just as really, we started getting sponsors and people wanted to be a part of it. And we've been really overwhelmed with the support we've been getting, not only from like Aaron Stoffer with Man Meat, shout out to him as our title sponsor for the show. You with Sofa King Awesome, Trauma Hogs, Mark Hunsaker with Hunsaker Smokers, American Fire. So yeah, shout out to Greg Hasty and Devin Holt for that. And man, like I said, we're blessed that we have so many people willing to support us in the show, and it's really turned into something really great.
You answered the next question, the podcast. Do you have any links for the swag, the shirts, the hats, anything like that, or?
Yeah, so the best way if you want to get swag, is to go on to the Midwest Backyard Barbecue, Midwest Backyard Competition Barbecue on Facebook, and we have a link on there for our merchandise. Right now, we just have 2 shirt styles, we have 2 hat styles, and we have stickers. But we're more than happy to get people to want to buy merchandise on there. And then as far as following the show, follow us on Instagram at Midwest Backyard Matters, and we also have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to that, and it's also Midwest Backyard Matters.
Awesome. Now, what does the future look like for you with Breaking Slabs barbecue?
So the next big thing we have coming up is the pulled pork demo at the Prairie Village Ace in August. That's our next kind of event. Right now, we're just kind of working on rebranding shirts, stickers, that kind of thing. Because we were so geared towards Show Me Smoke for a couple of years now. Really change over to Breaking Slabs and change kind of our look and that kind of different thing. Our next competition is, I believe I'm going to be entering into the Soboco backyard comp in Ashland, Missouri, and that's going to be in mid-September. And then the weekend after that, I've got Holy Smoke again. I got to go back to Holy Smoke because we won it last year. So I got to go and defend our title this year.
Are you entering in the Royal this year?
No, I'm not going to be at the Royal competing, but there have been talks with Ryan about, because he's going to be there already competing, that we're going to be doing a show live from the American Royal when it comes up. And then I know for sure that I will be down at the World Invitational in Gadsden, Alabama in November doing show live from the World Invitational.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, does
Yeah.
any of the viewers? Any
Say what?
viewers? Well, any viewers? Any questions from the viewers?
No, Ashland is September 10th because I'm still looking at it myself.
Oh, okay. Because I couldn't remember when that was. I know it's the weekend before Holy Smoke. And like I said, now we'll have to be here for that because that's more meat. It's a non-sanctioned competition, but they run it exactly like a sanctioned KCBS. Turn-ins are the same. It's like I said, it's the 4 meat, and so we've got to get to practicing on pork and brisket because I haven't done a comp brisket or a comp pork cook since last August. So it's like I really got to get going on that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like because we shift so much to steak. We really thought that the steak series was going to take off, and gosh, it just really hasn't. And so I don't know if we're going to do steak again the rest of this year. I may, if I'm at a competition, it's kind of happening as an ancillary, but we won't be doing steak only anymore. Because I don't think they're doing steak we're doing the Tahlequah double in October. And I don't think steak's going to be a part of that. It may be a part of Booby Q in late October, but I don't know yet. But yeah, so we've kind of got a big lull. So we won't compete again unless it comes up. We won't be competing again until September.
Nice. Just remember Guinness for your brisket.
I will very conveniently forget to put the Guinness in my brisket wrap. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's recap this. Zach with Breaking Slabs Barbecue competition team.
Yep.
Facebook page, Midwest Backyard Competition Barbecue.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the Instagram.
Instagram is Midwest_backyard_matters. Type in
There we
Midwest,
go.
come up, and then also remember to subscribe on our YouTube, which is Midwest Backyard Matters. So the way that we do our show is sometimes we pre-record depending on people's schedules, but tomorrow night we're going to be live. So tune in. We're going to have Carl McBee, the organizer. He does Columbia, Cameron, Winston. He's a pretty big KCBS organizer. We're going to have him on the show talking about the Cameron Elks Barbecue Cook-Off, which is coming up this weekend. And we will be doing 2 roundtables. So we were supposed to do 2 roundtables last week in Trenton. The Trenton comp got canceled. So scramble. We weren't able to do any content from up in Trenton, but we are going to do 2 pro roundtable. We're going to do 1 pro roundtable, backyard roundtable for 2 back-to-back episodes of Midwest Backyard Matters from Cameron this Friday.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're going to have some good pros on the team. We're going to have, or on the panel, we're going to have Joel Fleetwood from Meat Rushmore, Aaron from Man Meat, Dan and Angie from All Forked Up for Q. We're going to have Bree and Bradley from Black Magic. And I'm trying to think who else is going to be out there that we might try to get on pro panel. And then the backyard panel is going to be Devin Holt from Fluffy Butt, Josh Hess from Hess Hogs, and I think we're going to get Joey and Drew back on. So should be a really, really good roundtables out there from Cameron.
That will be good. That will be good. Brad, you got anything for him?
Nothing I can think of.
Well, Zach, we appreciate you doing the interview with us.
Hey, guys, like I said, appreciate you having me on. Like I said, I do need to make a plug for our team. Follow Breaking Slabs on Instagram. It's just Breaking Slabs Barbecue, or on Facebook, Breaking Slabs Barbecue Competition Team. So, like I said, love you guys to follow us and see what we've got going on the coming months.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming on.
Definitely. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.